That better?
Yeah, that's way better. Awesome, my man. Well, we are excited to have you. And every time I see anything that you do, bring a smile to my face because I thought I had a lot of energy and excitement about life. But man, I've been following you over the last couple of months in China and everything that you've been doing. So we're excited for you to take time out of your busy life. Oh, there it goes again. To spend about a half an hour with us. So we are eternally grateful and we are excited, my man. So as we launch into this thing, I'll kind of give a quick background just about our relationship. Guys, I'd mentioned the whole idea of collaboration, and in this world, I really think that we don't do things for immediate gratification, although sometimes we do. It's the delayed gratification and the legacy that we can create. And Rodney's going to talk a little bit about, if he's willing to. I think he's too humble to admit a lot of the things that he's accomplished, but I told you guys Betsy Allen Manning was on earlier, and I told you how I met Betsy was through Frank Shankowitz. Frank is the founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And then Betsy was humble enough to introduce me to Rodney Franks, who we are about to spend some time with. And so, the cool thing about life is one opportunity leads to the next. One person might open up a door for you. And Rodney is an expert at opening up doors for people that may not have had the ability to do that on their own. And so, Rodney, what I want to do with your time, hopefully, is just share a little bit about your accomplishments. But I think you're one of those guys that doesn't necessarily focus on the accomplishments, but who you become in order to do that and the lives that you've changed. And that's why you're doing what you're doing and starting your new consulting firm. And so, let's at least start with part of the initial lane change. And I teased you earlier in the first segment about a mutual movie that we have in common that we love, that I think was a big catalyst for you to really look at your life and figure out, man, do I want to live here and continue to put up with some things that people are forcing upon me, or is it my time to kind of create my own life with the vehicle that I want? So if you're willing to start off, since it's such a good changing lanes analogy, um, share about that movie and what you kind of learned from it, please.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You left off your last session saying the word "amen." So I thought that was really incredible to start off. I have a long history with my mother being a televangelist and growing up in the church for all of my life. I think I
Hmm.
knew school, church, and I think both of them are blurred between the lines. But I think that the most incredible part of the story is that, growing up the youngest of 9 kids in a very poor family, one of the things that was free was television. And so I engrossed myself in movies that would come on television, and go to the movies as something that we could do and afford to do. But one of the most profound movies of my life was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And if you were, the Generation X you'll understand that movie.
Amen.
But the most profound
Love it.
part is that the movie was just so different from my life. And one of the Ferris's best friends, Cameron, had a Ferrari red. Dad had a red Ferrari. They took a day off of school and played hooky in the city of Chicago, and all the things in the movie was just extraordinary to me. But one of the moments at the end of the movie where Cameron took his father's car and tried to roll back the mileage and just sort of erase what happened that day because he would get in trouble with his father. That was an impossible, turned out to be a cumbersome impossibility for him to do. And then that kind of struck me a little bit, saying that, we have to live the life that we live. We have to sort of take claim of the mistakes that we make. And, life is full of ups and downs and ins and outs, and it is as it should be. And so, just saw the movie years and years ago, was fascinated by it. But as you say about Life in Vaseline, the book that we're co-authoring, the book may not, resonate with people on that day, but as you read it or come back to it, something's going to resonate. Just like the movie that I saw, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when my mother surprisingly passed away of a heart attack at the age of 54, my first year of law school, and going through a little bit of depression, as you could imagine, when your rock, your biggest cheerleader, your biggest fan, the person who loves you so unconditionally is no longer there. I was sort of seeking things to be able to understand life. And you think that by the time I was 22 and spending my whole life in church, you think that I would understand life a little bit more, right? And what God's meaning is and purpose for our life. And you read all these books and you hear all these sermons from everyone. And I decided to watch that movie once again. And as the scene came up when Cameron has the car on the center blocks trying to reverse the mileage, I too saw myself in that movie for the first time as I was trying to erase the mileage and wishing my mother was back here and wishing I did this and wishing the situation and wishing I made better decisions. But the only time that we have, as you know, is now. It was the present. And I can no longer live in the past of what ifs, but I can live in the present of what I can do. And so from the movie sort of was a huge catalyst of sort of my coming of age and coming to a realization that the power of my life and the power of my future is within my hands.
That's awesome, Rodney. And there's a couple of things that I want to hit on that you just mentioned. One is choices that we make, and I hope this doesn't come across as being aggressive because it was part of your life, but because it was your first year in law school, I remember you telling me that you had a former obligation to go hang out with some of your grad student, right, buddies at I think it was a Cosmopolitan, I forget what the drink was, party, and you decided to do that, and you kind of felt your mom hold on to you a little bit longer that night, almost as if to say, hang with me. And not to say that you're going to live in that regret, but I think we make choices and we have to deal with them no matter what, right? And you've taken every choice you've made and you've turned it into an opportunity for other people because of that experience. So just share maybe a little bit about that, because everybody makes choices and it sends them down one of two lanes, a good one or a bad one.
Sure.
Do you have any thoughts about any of that?
Yeah, the story is that, the night my mother died, she asked my sister, who was visiting in town with my nieces and nephews, and ironically, my sister just flew in today from Georgia to visit me. So, that we're doing this interview today, but my mom wanted me to stay and watch Bill Cosby stand up, was her favorite, and my sister went down to spend time with my nieces and nephews. But my law school friends, who I had a pre-engagement for, a Martini Madness party.
Martini
Madness,
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. And, so I hugged her. I said, "Mom, I'd love to stay, but I already have a pre-commitment." And she hugged me a little bit tighter as I left. And I thought it was strange at the moment, but as hindsight is 2020. I walked away, went to the party, and unfortunately got a call 3 o'clock in the morning that my mother had passed away. So it was not only your mother dying at 21 years old, and not only going to law school, a lot of the people may be viewing thinking law school is just a rite of passage for some people, but no one in my whole entire family graduated from undergrad, less known going to graduate school, law school, or medical school. And so that was a huge thing, a huge part of my life, and one of the biggest triumphs. And there I was with my biggest supporter no longer being with me, but also the guilt. How many times have we walked away with guilt and live with guilt on a daily basis? Really paralyzes our lives. And I believe that movie was a catalyst, but also understanding life a little bit more through death gave me sort of that energy, that power, that lane change that I needed to get my life back on the right road. And ever since then, I've never looked back and never worried about guilt, because it's just things happen, just a part of the natural evolution of life.
Yeah, and then one of the things we really focus on at Changing Lanes is life is a journey, not a guilt trip, right? And it's exactly that. So one of the stories I love about you, and again, you're kind of making a lane change. I mean, I want to talk about some of your accomplishments and successes at the corporate level with all the things you've done, because you've literally left physical legacies that people can walk through, as many as the ones that you've left in the people's hearts, both through congregations and just in your clients and everything. But I think you realized a gift that you had in an opportunity that you had when you were speaking to the congregation, if I remember specifically. And I think, at least the way I interpret it, is you kind of saw unfolding before you one of God's gifts that He gifted to you, which was the ability to speak and influence and empower. And when I asked you how you were able to raise hundreds of millions of dollars, your first answer was it partly has to do with your story and using your story to empower others. So I want you to share, if you can, about that moment when you were speaking as a young boy, and then now what you're doing. How is that transition now into some of the stuff that you're doing? And then we'll kind of move into a different direction to help you with some of the stuff that you are going to be doing moving forward.
Great. I think that that's a great question, Lane. It's a lot of people come to public speaking or motivating, inspiring. I think they have different stories, how they fell into it, how they came about it. Mine wasn't sort of a dramatic story. It was, when you have a family of 9 kids and that means you have 9 volunteers. So whether it's on a football team, baseball team, church, or any kind of community organization, the kids are always volunteering. So I had to represent our church at that time in a youth conference, and that was the first time I was speaking at 9 years old. And did my, I was probably 6th in line. I saw everyone else get up there and speak. I was nervous. I had my speech prepared. I got up there, started speaking in front of 400 church people. Church people can be a little bit nitpicky, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got up there to speak at 9 years old. And as soon as I began speaking, I believe my second sentence, the whole church was quiet, completely quiet. I had stopped speaking because I thought I had said something wrong. Some profanity had slipped in. I misquoted a scripture. But I just went on with the speech and got over it. And not till I was finished that I got a round of applause, actually a standing ovation.
So life happens as an entrepreneur, you know that. And so school us, Rodney, about your AMPed formula and what that means and what's that done for your business and how you teach that to other people.
Yeah, AMPed is sort of my daily mantra. It's putting energy to everything that I do. So nothing becomes lazy or slowful, lackadaisical, just putting a lot of energy into it. So AMPed, A is assess. Before you do anything, you have to do your research, see what your competitors are, see what your resources are. M and P is map out a plan. It's great to have these great thoughts in your head or on a computer, but let's map out a plan. How are you going to get there? How are you going to, what is your strategy? The E is execute. It's great to have the strategy into your computer or on a piece of paper, but you have to put it in action and you have to execute your plan. And then also D, the last of it, is deliver the results.
Guys, are you still on? Well, guys, I think they dropped. This is part of the technology issues that you go through as an entrepreneur. There was a saying that I heard once. It's not about the things that happen to you, but how you react to the things. As an entrepreneur, you always have to react to certain things, and technology like Lane and Rodney hopping on and off the broadcast, not really in our favor right now. Sometimes you just got to work through the problems and keep grinding. That's the life of an entrepreneur and the meaning of an entrepreneur. Looks like Lane and Rodney are back. Can we hear you guys? Can you say something?
Hey.
All you, Rodney. Cool. Keep rocking it, man. Thank you for being flexible and shifting gears when we need to.
Exactly. No big deal.
So go on the D. So you got AMP. We haven't got the D out yet.
The last letter is D, deliver the results. It's great to execute a plan, but you also have to meet your goals. And so I do that on my daily mantra, my daily basis. It's transformed my life, but also it's transformed the lives and the programs of my clients. So, I've been a person that, had great ideas, but, it's great to deliver the results.
Awesome. So you've obviously accomplished a tremendous amount. You've used your story to raise literally hundreds of millions of dollars. for all the things you mentioned earlier. But I think you kind of got this calling, really realizing you don't necessarily want to look back, but you look back long enough to realize where you want to go forward, right?
Exactly.
And so you kind of made this lane change in this transition somewhat recently to start the RDF consulting firm, with an intention of speaking more. And you've done a lot of that. You've traveled a lot. You've been over to China a lot recently, and celebrated a birthday when we first connected about doing this book together. And so just kind of share with us a little bit about that balance, because I think something you said is very, very, very true. And a lot of people live their social media life very different than their real life. Yours is one and the same. In other words, your social media life is just a projection of how you actually live. You're not going to change just because you want to impress somebody. So talk a little bit about the values you live by, and then why you started consulting more. And, you're basically starting over again at some level and having to do all the things that you don't necessarily want to do after creating a lot of success. So the things that we don't want to do allow us to live the life that we do want to. So share just a little bit about that balance, your personal life, so people get to know you. And then I want to ask you what we can do to support and help you as you launch this new project that you're doing.
Thanks for following me on Facebook, Lane. I appreciate it. I don't get one like. I know I can count on a like from Lane.
Amen. I love you, man.
I appreciate that. No, I travel because of my mother dying so early. Sort of the meaning of life. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till you retire. Don't wait till 20 years. Don't wait till your kids graduate from high school. And those things to really live life. I really understood that life is here, this moment, this second, and I try to squeeze every moment out of it. So I travel across the world, and as I travel to China, as you've seen last month, Central America, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. Next month, then I'll go to South Africa the month after that. So I travel monthly. I live life while I'm there, but also put in a little consulting, which is a great combination. And that was why I moved from working for someone to working for myself. I wanted the flexibility of schedule, but I also wanted to work with more different types of nonprofits and corporations. And so I was down in Nicaragua a couple of months ago, helping a reforestation effort. I'll be going up to Canada to save the wild horses. So I'm going to South Africa to save the rhinos. So it's a little bit of everything, but also, here in LA, I help biomedical research institutes, startups, sort of find their way. So it's been truly a blessing to be able to do a diversity of things and have fun in the process.
Very cool. And so the biggest purpose of doing this is the collaborative competition or contribution that we can make to the world. And that's why we selected very unique people to be a part of this, because together we really can do more, as cheesy as the team acronym is. And so our job is to help support you now. You've helped us make this book what it is based on the contribution for your chapter. Everybody collectively downloading it today will get it to bestseller. And so